1. Russell Devlin hadn't stepped foot in his old hometown of Lakehurst in 15 years. After the divorce, he'd reinvented himself. Gone was the struggling construction worker, replaced by the ruthless real estate mogul who dominated the East Coast. Few connected Russell Devlin with Richard Drake, the name he now used professionally. It was a calculated choice to hide from no one, merely to separate his wounded past from his powerful present. From the driver's seat of his Bentley, Russell observed the newly constructed Lakehurst Park Plaza, his company's latest acquisition, though the sign still read Harrington Development. He allowed himself a thin smile. Vincent Harrington had no idea who had been systematically buying out his company's properties for the past 3 years. "Sir, your daughter's on line 1. His assistant's voice came through the car speaker. Russell's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Meredith, his only child, now 26. Their relationship had become strained after the divorce when she was 11. His ex-wife, Abigail, had spun a web of lies, portraying him as an absent father who abandoned his family. The truth, that Abigail had been having an affair with Vincent Harrington for years before the divorce, was something he never revealed to Meredith, not wanting to burden the child with adult matters. "Dad," Meredith's voice wavered. "I'm getting engaged to Leo. The party is this Saturday at Mom and Vincent's house." Russell kept his voice even. "Congratulations, sweetheart. I'll be there. That's why I'm calling. Vincent says you're not welcome." Mom agrees. She sounded pained. "I'm sorry, Dad. I tried." Russell closed his eyes, controlling the rage building inside him. "I understand. It's your day, Meredith. I don't want to make it difficult." After hanging up, Russell called his investigator. "Sam, what do we have on Leo Whitaker? Son of Thomas Whitaker, runs a mid-sized architecture firm. The kid works for Collier & Associates." Russell's lip curled into a smile. Collier & Associates, the firm he just purchased through a shell corporation. No one at the company knew about the ownership change yet, not even the senior partners. And Leo Whitaker was one of their promising architects, supervised by Russell's most trusted colleague, Darren Ford, who knew Russell only as Richard Drake. "Darren raves about this kid," Sam continued. "Says he's the most talented designer they've recruited in years. And Harrington still doesn't know you're behind the property acquisitions. He's drowning in debt, trying to keep up appearances. The engagement party is costing a fortune he doesn't have." Russell nodded. "Find me everything on Thomas Whitaker's history with Vincent Harrington. There's something there. I can feel it." 2 days later, Sam delivered a file. "Jackpot," he said. 20 years ago, Vincent and Thomas were business partners. Vincent pushed Thomas out of a deal that made millions, claimed all the credit. Bad blood ever since. The Whitakers have no idea their son is marrying into the family of the man who destroyed Thomas's career. Russell studied the documents with cold calculation. And Abigail, what does she know about all this? She knows. Found emails where she and Vincent joke about how Thomas would have a stroke if he knew about the engagement. Another piece clicking into place. "Keep digging," Russell instructed, "and give me an invitation to that party." The night before the engagement celebration, Russell sat in his hotel room, staring at old family photos. There was Meredith on his shoulders at the beach, both of them laughing, before everything fell apart. Before he came home early from a work trip to find Vincent Harrington in his bed with his wife. Russell had left with dignity then, not wanting to traumatize his daughter with an ugly scene. He'd given Abigail everything in the divorce, the house, most of their savings, asking only for fair visitation with Meredith. But Abigail and Vincent had poisoned his daughter against him, fabricating stories of abandonment and neglect. He slipped the photos back into his wallet, next to the invitation his investigator had procured. Tomorrow, he would see his daughter. Tomorrow, 15 years of patience would finally bear fruit. The Harrington estate was ablaze with lights, luxury cars lining the circular driveway. Russell adjusted his tie before stepping out of his Bentley, handing the keys to the valet. He hadn't specified his name on the guest list, merely showing the invitation. Inside, the opulence was obvious but hollow, like everything Vincent created. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, elaborate ice sculptures. Russell recognized the desperation of a man living beyond his means to maintain appearances. A man weeks away from financial ruin, though only Russell knew that part. He spotted Meredith immediately. She was radiant in a blue dress, her smile lighting up the room as she introduced her fiancé to guests. Leo was tall, handsome, earnest-looking, everything a father could want for his daughter. Russell felt a momentary pang of regret for what was to come. As he approached, Vincent Harrington intercepted him, face flushing with rage. "What the hell are you doing here?" he hissed, grabbing Russell's arm. Russell merely smiled. "Attending my daughter's engagement party. You weren't invited. You're nothing to her anymore. Loser. She doesn't want to see you." The room seemed to quiet around them, heads turning. Meredith was watching now, her expression troubled. Beside her, Leo frowned in confusion. "I think that should be my daughter's decision," Russell replied calmly. Vincent's face twisted with malice. He was enjoying this, the public humiliation, the power play. "Security," he called out. "Remove this man." Two suited men approached. Vincent leaned in, his breath reeking of expensive scotch. "She's my daughter now. You're nothing but a memory, and a bad one at that. Get out before we throw you out." Russell saw Meredith take a half-step forward, but Abigail held her back, whispering something in her ear. 15 years of poisonous lies crystallized in that moment. With dignity, Russell raised his hands. "No need for theatrics. I'm leaving." He turned to go, then paused, locking eyes with his daughter across the room. The hurt and confusion in her gaze struck him like a physical blow. But there was something else there too, a question. She was finally old enough to sense that something wasn't right with the story she'd been told. At the doorway, Russell made a single call. "It's time. Send it all." He climbed into his car and waited, watching the estate from a distance. 45 minutes later, his phone buzzed with a text from Sam. Package delivered. Inside the party, Leo Whitaker had just opened an envelope delivered by courier. His face went ashen as he read the contents, looking up to stare at Vincent in disbelief. "Is this true?" he demanded, voice rising. "Did you destroy my father's business? Steal his designs and claim them as your own?" Vincent stammered, "That's ancient history. Your father and I had a disagreement." "A disagreement?" Leo threw the documents on the floor. "You forged his signature. You stole everything he built." Thomas Whitaker stepped forward now, having received his own envelope. "Vincent, what is this?" "These are my original blueprints for the Westlake project." His hands shook as he held up the papers, with my signature crossed out and yours written in. The room erupted in chaos. Leo turned to Meredith, his face a mask of betrayal. "Did you know? Is this why you never wanted me to meet your parents until we were already engaged?" "No, Leo, I had no idea." "And there's more," Leo continued, his voice breaking. "Your stepfather is bankrupt. These documents show he's been embezzling from clients for years, and your mother helped him." He pulled the engagement ring from his pocket and threw it on the ground. "You never told me who your father really was, or who you really are." As Leo stormed out, followed by his stunned family, Meredith turned to her mother and Vincent, tears streaming down her face. "What have you done? What is he talking about?" Vincent's face had gone from red to white. "These are lies. Fabrications. Your father." "My father? What about him? What does he have to do with this?" Abigail grabbed her daughter's arm. "Nothing. He has nothing to do with anything because he is nothing." Meredith wrenched away. "Stop it. Stop lying to me." She picked up one of the fallen documents, her eyes widening as she read. "This says Dad's company owns the building where Leo works." "That can't be right. Dad works construction in Arizona." "What?" Vincent snatched the paper from her hands, his face contorting with dawning realization. "Drake Industries. Richard Drake. No, it can't be." Outside in his car, Russell watched the guests streaming from the house, faces scandalized. His phone rang. It was Sam. "It's done. The FBI just arrived at Harrington Development with a warrant." The prosecutor had everything they needed. Russell nodded. "And Meredith? She's asking questions." "A lot of them." "Good," Russell said. "It's time she learned the truth." 3 days after the disastrous engagement party, Russell sat in a quiet booth at Lakehurst's only upscale restaurant. The door opened, and Meredith entered, scanning the room until she spotted him. She looked exhausted, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. "You're Richard Drake," she said as she slid into the seat across from him. It wasn't a question. Russell nodded. "I changed my name professionally after the divorce. It was easier to build something new than to carry the weight of what happened here. Why didn't you tell me? All these years, I thought you were struggling, barely making ends meet in Arizona. Those checks you sent, I thought they were all you could afford. Would you have believed me if I'd told you I'd become successful? Or would you have thought I was trying to buy your affection?" Russell kept his voice gentle. "Your mother and Vincent had already convinced you I was a failure who abandoned you." Meredith's eyes filled with tears. "They said you left us, that you couldn't handle being a father. I left because I found Vincent in our home, in our bed, with your mother. They had been having an affair for years." Russell slid a folder across the table. "The truth has always been here, waiting for when you were ready to see it." Meredith opened the folder with trembling hands. Bank statements showing years of financial support far beyond the required child support. Letters he'd written that were returned unopened. Court documents showing how Abigail had repeatedly violated their custody agreement, denying his visitation rights. "Why didn't you fight harder?" she whispered. "Because fighting would have meant dragging you into an ugly battle. I chose to wait, to build something that could one day show you the truth more clearly than words ever could." What truth? That everything Vincent built was a house of cards. His success was based on theft, fraud, and lies. Now it's all coming down. Meredith stared at him. The FBI, the prosecutor, the evidence against Vincent and Mom. That was all you. Russell nodded. Justice delayed but not denied. "And Leo, did you destroy my engagement on purpose?" I revealed the truth. Leo deserved to know who he was really getting involved with. And you deserve a chance to build a life free from their lies. Russell leaned forward. "I never stopped being your father, Meredith. Not for one day." She was quiet for a long time. "Vincent and Mom were arrested yesterday. I know. They're saying they'll go to prison, that everything will be taken away. Yes. And where does that leave me?" Her voice cracked. Russell reached across the table, not quite touching her hand. "With the truth. With choices. With me if you want." A week later, Russell stood in his office overlooking Manhattan, watching the news report on Vincent Harrington's arraignment. Abigail stood beside him, hollow-eyed and defeated. They would both serve time, Vincent for fraud and embezzlement, Abigail as an accomplice. The door opened, and Darren entered. "The Whitaker contract is signed." Thomas was grateful for the opportunity. He paused. "Leo asked about you, about Richard Drake. And what did you tell him? That you're a fair man, but not one who forgives betrayal." Darren hesitated. "He wants to talk to Meredith. Says he acted hastily." Russell turned from the window. "That's her decision to make." As if summoned by her name, Meredith appeared in the doorway, carrying a box of personal items. She'd accepted his offer of a temporary apartment in the city, a chance to start fresh. "I spoke with Leo," she said quietly. "He apologized, asked if we could start over." Russell kept his expression neutral. "And what did you say?" A ghost of a smile crossed her face, so like his own. "I said I needed time, that I'm still figuring out who I am without all the lies." Russell nodded, feeling an unfamiliar emotion. Pride, perhaps, or hope. "Vincent called from jail," Meredith continued. "Begged me to help him, to testify on his behalf." Her expression hardened. "I told him he was nothing to me anymore." Something cold and satisfied unfurled in Russell's chest. Not just revenge, but vindication. The truth, finally rising to the surface after 15 years beneath the weight of lies. "What happens now?" Meredith asked. Russell looked at his daughter, truly looked at her, and saw reflections of himself, the steel beneath the softness, the determination in her eyes. "Now," he said, "we build something honest." As Meredith left for her new apartment, Darren lingered. 15 years is a long time to wait for revenge. Russell turned back to the window. It wasn't just revenge. It was justice. The world finally seeing Vincent and Abigail for what they really are. And forgiveness? Darren asked quietly. Russell's reflection in the glass showed no emotion, just the hard lines of a man who had learned to survive by turning pain into power. Some betrayals can't be forgiven, he said. Only settled. In the coming months, Harrington Development's assets would be liquidated, their projects absorbed by Drake Industries. The Harrington name would disappear from buildings across the East Coast, replaced by the Drake logo. Vincent and Abigail would serve their sentences, their social status evaporated, their friends scattered. And Russell would continue building his empire, now with his daughter at his side. He had lost 15 years with her, but he would not lose another day. She was learning the business quickly, showing an aptitude for design that surprised and delighted him. One evening, as they reviewed plans for a new development, one that would rise on the ashes of the Harrington estate, which Russell had purchased at auction, Meredith asked the question he'd been waiting for. Was it worth it? All those years of planning, waiting? Russell thought of Vincent's face as he was led away in handcuffs, of Abigail's tearful pleas for leniency that fell on deaf ears, of the Harrington empire, dismantled brick by brick. Yes, he said simply. Some debts can only be paid in full. Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall, covering the city in a clean, blank slate. But Russell Devlin, a man who neither forgot nor forgave, understood that beneath every pristine surface lay the hard, cold truth of the past. And he had learned, through years of patient calculation, how to use that truth like a weapon, striking only when victory was absolutely assured. That was the price of betrayal, and he had collected in full.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.